My name is Rajkumar Dhanavir Singh. I am going to teach 11-12 Sociology. Hello everyone. Today, continuation to my previous class, Inequality and Exclusion. Today's topic is Untouchability and OVC. Untouchability. It is a social practice within the caste system in which members of the lower caste are considered to be ritually impure to such a limit that they cause pollution by mere touch. Untouchability is an extreme and particularly vicious aspect of the caste system that prescribes stringent social sanction against members of caste located at the bottom of the purity and pollution scale. Untouchability haibasi caste system gi manungda aseng amang haina kanna khaidoiba pollution amsung purity haibudu da base tawwa caste system gi hierarchy da bottom da leiriba caste group aduda yamna handhaba mieng da yengba makhoibu yamna cruel oiba mong da handhana yengba gi mieng adubuni akoina untouchability na hariba tamasina kano tawbis. Strictly speaking, the untouchable castes are outside the caste hierarchy. Yaw the bugumani moise almost caste hierarchy sida yaw mapan the labugumani moise bra caste kanu singdugi Brahman Kshatriya Vaishya Shudra and harib dugi wang the labugumani moise. They are considered to be so impure that their mere touch severely pollutes members of all castes, bringing terrible punishment for the former and forcing the latter perform elaborate purification rituals. Makoi kaktang na show uda ngasai untouchable group asina soktang sokpada makoi si yamna chawo punishment phangningai oiba amasung show riba kangu sing ado adusu pollute oire haidana yamna dharma ga mari leinaba ritual kanu omaga loinana moisi purify tawda ka leiba adugumba system amakhani. In fact, notion of distant pollution existed in many regions of India, particularly in South. Yamna South yamna achouba problem amakhak oikiba adugumba kanu problem ni. Such that even the mere presence of khudam oina harbada khitang presence haibadi pura samsongna samnaruba mak natragasu haibatang urubada maki mami khatang tabada mangi haidana untouchable sing asigi si moina pollute tawre haidana thajanaba adugumba system amakhang untouchable lena haibase magi koi literal meaning da yauriba untouchable chokna samnaba yadaba ina hariba sidagi hendoktana makoi de piribisi not just to the avoidance or prohibition of physical contact but to a much broader set of social sanctions. Chokna samnaba yadaba khak natna atopa restriction mayam ama lei masida. We can study the dimension of untouchability in three ways, namely exclusion, humiliation and subordination, and lastly, exploitation. Mukhoji dimension ahumda when study the way quite faster exclusion and a haribasida. Untouchable kangu singasa, Makoi singasi, Akoigi, Samastagi, Makoigi, caste hierarchy sidagi that ladiba, Makoigi, Kano kangu singasina, top the ladiba, kangu singasina, Makoibu, exclusion tawiba, Aduma Makalgi system amakhane. They were given opportunities like others, however, were excluded from the smallest thing and they were excluded from everything. Khudam moina harabada makoisi akoigi same well amakhakhtagi natraga pon amakhakhtagi natragi tank amakhakhtagi Brahman singna natraga Kshatriya na Vaishya na sinariba ising sing ado madu punna share tawbo yaramde moisi. Aduda natna dharma ga mari leinaba akoigi festival singda natraga worship tawu matamda makoi singa se mukoi kanu yawu moisi exclude tawrame. Maramduna ngasai untouchability se akoina dimension ahanbagi dimension da masi exclusion na hadana makoibu inthok piba samastagi moibu yahundaba si masi maram amane. At the same time, untouchability may also involve forced inclusion in a subordinate role. Yapura intokpadi intokraba moise yahondrabani adubu namdana amkasu pusalliye karma matamda moise akoigi worship kum matawu matamda natraga festival gu matawu matamda makoi lai khoramba yahonbana tam yamna akoigi kanu tawu mongda dhon thilan bagumba adugumbada moise yaholle force inclusion su tawi. The second part, that is humiliation and subordination. The performance of publicly visible acts of the humiliation and subordination is an important part of the practice of untouchability. ipong pong na adum moibu akhoi gi humiliate tawbiba aduga makhoi sibu namthadana thambagi mawong ase adum untouchability hariba system se adum ui moise common instances khudam oina harabda yamna toina ubuda akhoi gi makhoi si achauba sagai haigadra achauba jati sing brahman khetre baise singi mamangda moina unaba matamda makoina uppiba moigi headgear moigi koet uppa yadaba lokthooga leiba even moina tongiba khongup tu bok tongaga sandal natraga khongup tu tongaga footwear du bok tongaga salhandaba makhutna pairaga salhanda and then not only that adu lei haidana su chaliba sing aduda ngak haigatana chatpasu yadaba lukthadana makoibu bo tawduna leigadabugi mawong sibok yauna moi humiliate tawbi even they were not allowed to wear bright clothes as well as routinized abuse and humiliation piron arang arak pok afaba ahanba arang arak pok setpa yadaba dumba makhalgi mawong da moise humiliate tawbi and the last dimension is exploitation. Untouchability is almost always associated with economic exploitation of various kinds. For example, makhoi sing asidai sida makhoi si paisa yamna phangoidaba natraga force imposition tawdana moi paisa under paid oigadaba labor sing natraga makhoi da namna labor sing thabak suhalle karigumba matamda makhoi gi maram mathum bauta munbiba yawe. They were forced to do low grade jobs like washing bathroom and wetting the rods and cremation. Asi anagi poloi bida oina sinai mokhoise. Namdana sinabani. The so-called untouchable have been referred to collectively by many names over the centuries. Je hariba untouchability na hariba si India gi history da sang chatharpa matam sida tongan ba mamingda moibu handhana yengbiba makoibu exploit tawbiba ado exclusion tawbiba se dum thengnare. Now the using of those names Makhoi sing adugi marakta maming sing adugi marakta Mahatma Gandhi na makhoibu tama masinarami Harijan haidana. Harijan means literally children of God and haibani. Aduna makhoi da sahi suk yamba matam asida sinariba mayam akoina handana yengbibagi makhoi da sinariba maming sing ase moi da piriba untouchable kangu sing asida piriba maming sing ase haujik India gi kano sida hauji present day sida maming sibok panba ya nati pallaga di akhoi criminal offense hoina lauba adumba kano khau system am khane. However, the untouchable communities and their leaders have coined another term. Maming mayamama over a century maming mayamama atopa kanu sing na makhoi bu sinaragasu makhoi masana maming ama haujikti atopa thonjare dalit haidana masi dalit na hariba sigi tam sigi general magi meaning si atai kemta nati downtrodden haibani hanthana yengbiraba haibani hanthana yengbiraba haidana moi masana thonjari base atai general people singda mohoi bu otpi nei birabani haibu show tongnana ba moi bu convey tongnana bugi sense ama khaktani moina dalit haidan thonjari base adubu untouchability asibu dalit sing asibu ngak senna bugi damakta amasung makhoi gi right sing kanjana bugi damakta Indian constitution na makhoi da akhoi gi government na makhoi da yamna khudong chaba mayam ama piri makhoi sing adu akhoi ne study tawraga yengsi. The Indian state has had special program for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes since even before independence. Independence phangdringai dagi 1935 ki matamdagi hauna British government India da palingai matamdagi hauna makhoi sing asidai sida law mayamama ek mayamama impose tawduna makhoi gi kanu kannana ba right kanjana ba makhoi gi moi identity ngakchana gi khudong chaba mayamama piri. The schedules listing the castes and tribes recognized as the deserving of special treatment because of the massive discrimination practiced against them were drawn up in 1935. British India government was there in India. Indiana 1935 India the British government na palingai matamdagi makhoida akoina hanthana yengbiba discriminate tawbiba exclusion tawbasing aside ngakthok nanabagi chatharakpa government gi keno moina 1935 tagi hori. The most important state initiative attempting to compensate for the past and the present caste discrimination is the one popularly known as reservation. ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯔꯤꯖꯔꯕꯦꯁꯟ ꯍꯥꯏꯗꯅ ꯊꯕꯛꯇ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯒꯤ ꯏꯚꯟ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯁ꯭ꯇꯦꯠ ꯑꯃꯁꯨꯡ ꯂꯦꯖꯤꯁꯂꯦꯆꯔꯒꯤ ꯁꯦꯟꯇ꯭ꯔꯦꯜꯒꯤ ꯂꯦꯖꯤꯁꯂꯦꯆꯔꯁꯤꯡꯗ ꯃꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯀꯣꯇꯥ ꯊꯝꯗꯅ ꯃꯈꯣꯏꯕꯨ ꯉꯥꯛ ꯁꯦꯟꯅꯅꯕ ꯃꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯃꯥꯡꯉꯨꯔꯕ ꯃꯈꯣꯏ ꯃꯇꯝ ꯁꯥꯡꯅ ꯃꯣꯏꯕꯨ ꯍꯟꯊꯅ ꯌꯦꯡꯕꯤꯔꯛꯄ ꯃꯈꯣꯏꯕꯨ ꯗꯤꯁꯀ꯭ꯔꯤꯃꯤꯅꯦꯠ ꯇꯧꯕꯤꯔꯛꯄ ꯑꯦꯛꯁꯀ꯭ꯂꯨꯖꯟ ꯇꯧꯕꯤꯔꯛꯄꯗꯨ ꯀꯝꯄꯦꯟꯁꯦꯠ ꯇꯧꯅꯅꯕꯒꯤꯗꯃꯛꯇ ꯔꯤꯖꯔꯕꯦꯁꯟ ꯑꯅ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯤ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥ ꯒꯣꯔꯃꯦꯟꯅ introduced away. This involves the setting aside of some places or seats for members of the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in different spheres of life. ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯇꯣꯉꯥꯟꯕ ꯄꯨꯟꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯀꯩꯅꯣꯁꯤꯗꯩꯁꯤꯗ ꯁꯦꯗꯨꯜ ꯀꯥꯁ ꯑꯃꯁꯨꯡ ꯁꯦꯗꯨꯜ ꯇ꯭ꯔꯥꯏꯕꯀꯤ ꯃꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯀꯩꯅꯣꯁꯤꯡ ꯈꯨꯗꯣꯡꯆꯥꯕꯁꯤꯡ ꯃꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯇꯣꯉꯥꯟꯅ ꯈꯥꯛꯇꯅ ꯌꯣꯛꯇꯅ ꯃꯈꯣꯏꯕꯨ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯃꯥꯟꯅꯕ ꯖꯦꯅꯔꯦꯜꯁꯤꯡꯒ ꯃꯥꯟꯅꯕ ꯊꯥ ꯑꯃꯗ ꯄꯨꯈꯠꯅꯅꯕ ꯒꯣꯔꯃꯦꯟꯅ ꯁꯦꯝꯃꯤ. So this includes reservation of seats as I mentioned earlier in state and central legislatures, reservation of job in government services as well as in the public sector companies. Government na chalaiba public sector companies singda amasung government gi thabak magi government service singda makhoi gi tonganba reservation thame. Reservations of seats in educational institutions. Government institutions singda su makhoi gi tonganba seat moi gi reservation lei. The proportion adubu kayam na moi gi seat ki masing kayam oigadagi na haibu potsi the proportion of the seat reserved seat is equal to the percentage share of the scheduled caste and the tribe in the total population. Total population apunba population du dai du da scheduled caste na kayam yambano scheduled tribe na kayam yabno haibu gi proportion yenga moi gi seat share reserved tawi. The same principle is extended to other developmental program of the government. Atopa akoina hujik tariba India government na state natraga central government na impose tawrakpa program moi development program mayam amada su makhoi gi kano se system hujiki proportion du yengaga total population ne makhoi gi population du kyam yamge haibu gi proportion du yengaga moi gi khudong chaba se pi. Above all this, in addition to reservation sigi mathakta there have been a number of laws passed to end, prohibits and punish caste discrimination, especially untouchability. Ngasai sokna samnaba yadaba adudagi kano tawriba mayam sida makhoi bu hanthana yengbiba discriminate tawbiba exclusion tawbu mayam ase makhoi singa sibu ngak senana bai damakta makhoi da punish tawnana bai damakta makhoi gi mayokta singda tawna bai damakta India government na constitution da achauba pass mayam law mayam pass tawduna thame. One of such law was Caste Disability Remove Act of 1850, which disallowed the curtailment of the rights of citizens due solely to change of religion or caste. Matam du dai du da ngasai gi downtrodden haina moina kaujari ba dalit kangu sing asina makhoi si Hindu society da makhoi gi higher caste ki kangu sing asina moi bu humiliate tawiba makhoi gi discriminate tawu si khang mangam dadana atop dharma sing da mamang gi parada soina pangiba akhoi gi Hinduism da Buddhism da amasung Islam da convert tawbu kangu sing asigi ngak senna bai damakta sigi kano se Caste Disability Removal Act of 1850 have se lai. The most recent such law was Constitution Amendment 93rd Amendment and Haidana Kangnaba Act of 205. Kuidriba 205 ta ahoigi 93rd Amendment sida is the Constitution gi amendment sida which became a law in 23rd January 2006 ta masi law moina can passed away. And coincidentally both the 1850 and the 2006 amendment related to education. In between, there have been numerous laws of which important ones are Constitution of India itself passed in 1950, the Scheduled Caste and the Scheduled Tribe Prevention of Atrocities Act of 1989. Makhoibu discriminate tawbibisidi ngak senana bai damakta Prevention of Atrocities ki 1950 dagina kanubo ki marak sidai sida 1989 da passed over law sisu amani. Article 17 of Indian Constitution abolished untouchability and introduced reservation provision. Article 17 gi matung ina India gi constitution da makhoi gi untouchability na habse abolish tawre kanagumba amantana mahakti akhoi gi songna samnaba yadabani mahak lagadi mahak akhoi gi marakta yaurugadi mange pollute tawre khole na habasi masigi pochi pumut muthat khre article 7 gi matung ina amasung madu criminal offense ne. In the 1989 Prevention of Atrocities Act revised and strengthened the legal provision punishing the act of violence, humiliation against the Dalit and tribes. Asai untouchable kangu sing Dalit amusung tribes sing ase makoi sing asidai sida akoina hanthana yengba amusung makoi bu humiliate tawbiba se masi punishable act ne haibase amuka hena 1989 gi Prevention of Atrocity Act sida amuka revise tawduna amuka hena kalhalle law se. In fact, legislation was repeated on this subject is a proof of the fact that law alone cannot end a social practice. Some asta mara maru tadana laikhraba adugumba social kanom practice amakha ngasai untouchability na hariba sigumba singa se government na phanayam na law mayam ma enact tawduna law act mayam ma pusala agasu masi mutat pa haibase pung mutat pa haibase akhoi gi society gi ngasai responsibility masa masa gi separate responsibility si yauda taragadi oithokte. State action alone cannot ensure social change. Sugumba society mo hongak pai na haibase state khaktana government khaktana porak pangamoi samas yaudragadi. And now the second topic is the other backward classes. Untouchability gi hak matungda ngasai akoina OBC na hariba kanosi topic asi amuk lai. So far untouchability was the most visible and comprehensive form of the social discrimination. Akoina hojik phau yengpu matamda untouchability na haribasi akoigi society da khwaidagi chawba social discrimination tawiriba moibu hanthana yengbiriba ngasai gi exclusion tawriba kangi system adu akoina ui. However, there were a large group of castes that were of low status and were also subjected to verify levels of the discrimination short of untouchability. Untouchability dudagi pangta tada ba maungda yamna handhabiba adugumba caste group mayam amusu lay socially economically backward oiraba mayam ama kudam oina harabada artisan kangu sing akoigi chapu sabagumba moigi kumbar kaina haiba adudagi muchi kaina haiba adugumba moigi professional kangu artisan kangu khutsa haibagi thabak sing adugumba kangu sing asisu moisi socially amusu economically backward oiraba kangu sing asini makhoi sigisu khandaba yarakte. They were the service and the artisan caste who occupied the lower strata of the caste hierarchy. Masagi caste hierarchy da Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra na haibu dai da lower caste khwaidigi aroi bisida leiba khoi khutcha haibigi thabak tawwa dugumba kangu sing asini. These groups, which need not to be based on the caste alone but generally are identified caste, were described as the socially and educationally backward classes. Haribasi ngasai gi Hindu society da leiriba caste ki lower caste strata da leiriba hierarchy ki lower strata da leiriba artisan kangu sing adu khakta nati Hindu society dagi amuk haidoga atopa society da su khudam oina harabada Islam chatpa kangu sing marakta su makhoi sing asi adum leitaba nati. This is the constitutional basis of the popular term other backward classes, which is commonly used today. Ngasi akoina backward classes, backward classes haidana koina tariba kaino sing adu makhoi sing asine. Like the category of tribes and the tribes, the OBC are defined negatively by what they are not. They are neither part of the forward castes at the upper and the spectrum nor of the Dalit at the lower end. Makhoi di achouba kaino sing gi marakta leibudusu nate akhoi caste ki strata da hierarchy da moi achouba moi upper caste kangu sing dugi marakta leibisu adu sunate Dalit kangu du sunate makhoi sing asidi. But since caste has entered the major Indian religions, is not only confined in the Hinduism alone, but there are also members of other religions who belong to backward castes and share the same traditional occupation, identification, and a similar or worse socio-economic status. As I mentioned earlier, not only the artisan in the Hindu society, they are also in other religion who are in the same position, who are backward socio-economic status. For this reason, the OBC are much more diverse group than the Dalit and tribes or Adivasis. Aduna tribe na haiba Dalit na haiba group ngasai untouchable na haiba group sing adudagi pungtong tongan ba mongda makhoi di yamna pak sandokre OBC na haiba sidi every dharma khudimagta lai moidi. Haidi not only in the Hinduism but also in other religion also. The first independent India under Jawaharlal Nehru appointed a commission headed by Kaka Kalelkar, submitted its report in 1953. India independence phangaba matungda Jawaharlal Nehru na prime minister oiringai matamda khoigi commission am khak seme ngasigi OBC sigi maramda magi kanu pikhalakna na baidamakta kaka kalekara na hariba khoigi kanu still magi makhada. But the political climate of that time led to the report being sidelined. Matamdugi political crisis laiba maramna India gi si yamna kyauti go iba condition nam khakta laiba maramna hojiki pikhlaiba 1953 da kaka kalekar na pikhlaiba magi report ase namjandana thamgi. From the mid 50s 1953 da submit torpani. From the mid 50s the OBC issue became a regional affair pursued at the state rather than the central level. Center di achauba political crisis am laibu maramna masi state singi issue oina mid 50s ke 1950 gi mayai chalakpa doi digi state issue oina oire. Say especially southern states singda there had been a long agitation, political agitation started in early 20th century gi matam adai degi 20th century hawlakpa matam adai degi akhoi South Indian gi state singda achauwa political crisis am agitation am hawre OBC singi damakta. Because of these powerful social movements South hawreiba sigumba achauba akhoi powerful oiba movements sing asina policy to address the problem of OBC were in place long before they were discussed in the most northern states. South tagi haurakpadana northern state omda sandoraktana northern states sing su achauba issue mo ore. The OBC issue returned to the central level in the 1970s after the emergency when Janata Party came to party. 1970s ke adwaida OBC mid 1950s ke adwaida gi haurakpaduna akhoi state level da oina central level da di kaya chawba issue oidana leirambadu akhoi 1970s ke adwaida state central level da halaktana chawba issue mo ore. The second backward classes commission headed by BP Mandal was appointed in this time. 1970s ki matam sida akhoi BP Mandal na akhoi luchingba dumba masigi OBC gi magi commission number semdana akhoi kanu pikhalnaba government na order tawe. However, it was only in 1990s when the central government decided to implement the 10 years old Mandal Commission report that the OBC issue became a major one in national politics. 1990s ki adwaida sahi kharagi matungda ngasai pikhalaiba Mandal Commission na pikhalaiba report adu akhoi gi kanu oina government na masi matam sida implement tawna ba akhoi gi kanu sida 1990s ke duda se lawe. The politicization of the OBC allows them to convert their large numbers. OBC has a very large population. Around 41% of the Indian national population is OBC. Because of this large number of population, they are very forceful. 41% national population sida apumba sida 41% di OBC gi manung challe aduna makhoi singa si aduk am thina forceful oigre matam duda. The large disparity between the upper OBC landowners and the lower OBC's disadvantage make this a difficult political category to work with. 41% mukshi OBC gi manung da sanjata aragasu makhoi singa sida akhoi gi OBC singa sigi marakta inakara khullaba natraga ngasai kanu sing tawba kangu sing group su yaudaba nati aduga somda yamna untouchability dagi hena akhoi gi dalit kangu sing dagi hena phibam phaba sunataba du kangu yamna lower gi OBC kangu su yaudaba makhoi singa si marakta khandokpada achauwa issue amadi adum government gi kanu da oidaba nati. However, the OBCs are severely underrepresented in all spheres except land holding and political representation. OBC haribisida makhoi se lam yamna akhoi gi lam mapu yamna chawna oidaba amasung political kanu yaudaba representation yaudaba akhoi kangu singa se masi khandome. Although the upper OBCs are dominant in the rural sector, hajaragasu OBC kangu singa se moi rural sector da yamna chawba makhoi gi moi se dominant caste oina adum leitaba sunati. And in the urban areas, OBCs are much worse. Compared to the OBCs in the rural area and the urban areas are much more worse, even not better than ST and SC. Once again, thank you, and I conclude here for today.